starting. Good evening, gentlemen. Today we are starting a new week and with a new knowledge area. Actually, we are starting the first knowledge area. We know we have 10 knowledge areas in project management body of knowledge, and we have already studied the first 3 chapters, which included the introduction, the concepts, and also the process group interactions. Now we very clearly understand how various processes and process groups interact with each other and what is the purpose of each process. Now we are going to go into a little more depth in each of those processes from the perspective of knowledge areas. So each knowledge area, we will have the respective processes of that knowledge area discussed, and the purpose of that knowledge area, how those processes are acting, what are the inputs and outputs in and out of those processes, what are the tools and techniques required for each of the process. This is all what we are going to be covering here. So here we start with the knowledge areas. The convention will almost remain the same. You see, you will find the boxes exactly as we defined in the previous chapter, but with a little difference. Let me show you. Can you see the marker, the pointer here? Okay, right. So if you can see this, these are 2 boxes, and behind this box is a background box. So we'll use the background box to represent the knowledge area we are talking about. And within that knowledge area, within that background box, all the processes shown on top of it would belong to that knowledge area, right? The white box would be the process under discussion. The dark gray box would be the process which is from the same knowledge area, but it is not directly under discussion, but it is either getting something as an output from the concerned process. So some connection exists between the process under discussion and the process referred here in dark gray box. So the interaction would be shown there. Then if a process box is shown outside of this gray area, that would mean that this is a process which is from some other knowledge area, but it has some connection of input or output with the process under discussion. Sorry, I think the gray box is the process under discussion. White box is the process of the same knowledge area, but which takes input or output from the process under discussion. And the white box outside the background gray box, background, is from other knowledge area interacting with the process under discussion. These boxes, these are external entities which are giving something or getting something from the process under question. Black lines would show those interactions which are amongst the processes within the same knowledge area, and gray boxes would represent inside and outside connections from that knowledge area to outside world. Maybe the knowledge areas from other knowledge area, processes from other knowledge areas are external entities. They would be connected through the gray box. Anyways, it will be clear when you will see the first process. So we move ahead with it. It is just a convention I wanted to tell you. Okay. Right, the knowledge area we are discussing now is the project integration management. And if you remember, we did say that integration management has a parental role for all the other knowledge areas. So out of these 10 knowledge areas, this is the parent and all other are answerable to it and all other contribute to it, and it establishes the basic rules of engagement for all other knowledge areas. So this is the parent. Therefore, before any other knowledge area starts doing anything, integration will establish a path for them. So the central plan, the big plan is the project management plan, and that would be created by the integration management. It is the responsibility of the integration management to create the project management plan, and it would consist of all the other management plans, and also it will advise and provide guideline to all other knowledge areas to develop their respective management plans and other documents, how they will go ahead with their work. So this is the parent, and we also understand that integration process has to be parent in every process group. Therefore, no matter it is initiation or planning or execution or monitoring and control or closing process group, integration process will have to be there to integrate all the work of all other processes. All other processes are not necessarily there. It is not necessary for all other knowledge areas to be present in every process group. Rather, you have already seen that none of the other knowledge areas have presence in all the 5 process groups. It is only integration which is present in every process group, and there are 5 process groups. So if you don't know how many processes are there in integration, what is the minimum number of processes that could be there in integration? Anyone who can help me with that? Yes, please. What is the minimum number of processes, integration processes, which could be there? I'm not, yes,
Sir, 10?
why 10? What is the logic? There are how many process groups?
The process groups are 5.
And integration has to be everywhere. So there must be at least one process in each. So what is the minimum requirement then?
Ah, 5
Minimum 5
in that case.
processes. At least one process in each process group. It will have at least 5 processes. But we understand that initiation has one process, planning has one process of integration, execution has one process of integration, closing has one process of integration, but we know and we have studied that in integration we have 2 major roles to accomplish. One is of the chief analyst and one is of the chief controller. Therefore, 2 separate processes of integration are required in monitoring and control. That makes it a total of 6 processes. So this is easy way of remembering how many processes are there in integration. With the exception of monitoring and control, we have one process per process group. And in monitoring and control, we have 2 processes. One is responsible for the overall analysis and the other is analysis for the integrated change control. Therefore, there are 2 processes in monitoring and control, totaling up to 6 processes. Let's start from the beginning. In initiation, we have the very first process, develop project charter. And this is the parent process. This is where it is a game changer. It basically initiates the project. It basically authorizes the project. So this is the major process. What else is there in integration? Is there any other process there? Yes, please. You know, once we are studying this, all the knowledge areas, you will see we will be revising everything we have studied so far and going into further depth. So in initiation, just recall what were the processes in initiation process group. Naturally, one was develop project charter. What was the next? Yes, please. No. Scope is not a process. Scope is a process group. Sorry. Scope is a knowledge area. And we are not talking about scope. In integration, there is no process of scope. Okay, just tell me the knowledge area of that process which is there in initiation alongside project charter. Mohsin, any ideas?
Sir, stakeholders, sir.
Stakeholder
I
management.
didn't.
Exactly, you are right. So from the stakeholder management knowledge area, we have to do something about it here, because now we have received the charter, we have been ordered, we have been authorized to start the project, and we have naturally clarified from the project sponsor about our queries. And now, at a very high level, I do understand what is the job has been assigned to me. um, the natural instinct would be to start doing the job. No, we don't want to start doing the job immediately. We have to, elaborate, proactively plan it. But even before starting the planning, I must look around and do some identification of stakeholders. Who are the people whom I will have to interact during this project? Who are concerned about this project? Who matter for this project? Because these are the people whom I will be interacting with, and while I'm planning, I have to consider them. Therefore, without going into planning, I will first look around and identify all the stakeholders, record uh, their names in a stakeholder list or register, and also I will analyze them a bit and try to develop certain groups of these stakeholders, like-minded stakeholders, to be placed in various groups, and then I will strategize about them, how to deal with what group. So I will develop a stakeholder management strategy as well. But this process of identify stakeholder is kind of subordinate to the project charter process, because project charter belongs to integration, and that is always the parent. Okay, that job is done. Initiation is completed. We have the charter developed. We have, from the identify stakeholder, we have the stakeholder register prepared. We have the stakeholder management strategy prepared. And now we are getting into the project management plan. I mean, we are going into the planning process group. Can anyone tell me how many processes are otherwise there in planning process group? Yes, please.
Can you repeat, sir?
How many processes are there in the planning process group? Okay, tell me first, how many are the total processes of project management?
Processes are 47, sir.
47. Very good. Out of the 47 processes, the maximum number of processes are located in planning process group, and every knowledge area is being thoroughly planned. So one thing is certain, that all the knowledge areas are present in planning process group. All the 10 knowledge areas are represented there. The total number of processes in planning of all the knowledge areas would be how much?
Sir, 28, I guess?
No, there are 24 processes. There are
24.
24 processes in planning process group, and that is just indicative of the fact that this is more than 50% processes out of the total processes. More than 50% processes exist only in planning. And all of these processes are subservient to the integration process, which is develop project management plan. Although integration has only one process in planning, that is develop project management plan, but remaining 23 processes all are subservient to this process. Whatever they are doing for creation of a project management plan. And this is in charge. This is advising them how to do their job. We do understand that every knowledge area has to prepare its own management plan, but who is providing them the guidance to how to prepare their management plan? Project management plan is a general instruction for all management plans. And project management plan was prepared in accordance with what? Project management plan is prepared in accordance with the governance structure. The project governance is what is dictating the project management plan. It is exactly in accordance with the project governance. Okay, but what are the various inputs coming to it? Naturally, even in initiation, we had enterprise environmental factors, we had organizational process assets. These two things were input into almost every process out of those 47 processes. So when we are talking about develop project charter in initiation, these two things, enterprise environmental factor and organizational process assets, were the inputs there as well. Now in develop project management plan also we have these two things as standard input. And you understand now that there are 23 other processes subservient to this process, develop project management plan. Third process here belongs to the executing process group, and this is again only one process group, and the name of this process is direct and manage project work. What does it do? What is the responsibility of direct and manage project work? Yes, please.
So that's related to the execution, sir, of the plan.
And execution is according to what?
The plan, sir.
To the project
project
management plan.
Yes.
Execution has to be exactly in accordance with the project management plan. Execution itself does not have any power or authority to change anything. They just have to do whatever is written in the project management plan. So for execution, project management plan is just like a standard operating procedure. For operations, we have standard operating procedures to be followed. Here, for execution, we have the project management plan to follow. Direct and manage project work has no authority to change anything. Yes, direct and manage project work can suggest changes. It can request changes, and all the changes are processed in monitoring and control process group. So we understand what are the contents of the project management plan. We have all the management plans included in it, and we have all the baselines included in it. What are the baselines? Scope, time and cost. And management plans are, as you understand, the scope management plan, requirements management plan, schedule management plan, cost, all the knowledge areas, all the management plans. So this is what we are executing here. We are exactly executing what is written in the project management plan. And as a result, if something does not happen as it should have happened, we are not really much affected, because we are reporting it to monitoring and control. We are sending all the data to monitoring and control, right? So direct and manage project work will execute the project, and it will produce the deliverable naturally. If the job is done, the deliverable would come out of it, and it will also produce the data out of it. The work performance data will also be produced out of it. And in case there is a very imminent change which we think is necessary, there is certain something so wrong with the planning that we cannot move ahead with execution, and that must be immediately amended or corrected. So direct and managed project work can suggest a change request. Now, as I said before, change request is not going to be a very lengthy process. Why? Because while we are executing the project, at the same time we are monitoring and controlling the project as well. Therefore, when we will move the change request, monitoring and control would be live, and they will immediately take on that change request, and if it is that urgent, that would be approved instantaneously, and the changes to the plan will occur, and direct and managed project work will be able to fix the problem before it can really cause any damage. But then it all depends upon how well are you practicing the good practices of project management. If we start putting the things on the pending tray, if we start being more bureaucratic, the things will linger on and your project will suffer. We don't want that to happen. In an efficient mechanism, in an efficient way, yes, we can immediately resolve a problem. But as I said, execution has no power, no authority to change anything by itself. It has to move a change request, and all the authority is in the monitoring and control project work. In monitoring and control project work, we have two processes for integration. One is for the thorough analysis, that is monitor and control project work. That will take the analysis of all other controls. There are many controls. Every knowledge area has a control there, except for one, which is the knowledge area which doesn't have a control in monitoring and control process group. Can you tell me that?
Or HR.
HR. With the exception of HR, all the knowledge areas do have a control there in monitoring and control, and each control is processing the work performance data which has been received from the direct and managed project work and analyzing that data, and after having processed it, it will convert that processed data into work performance information, and work performance information from each of those controls will travel to this process, monitor and control project work, which I call the chief analyst. This chief analyst will collect all the work performance information and consolidate into the work performance report. That is one job of monitor and control project work process. What is the other job? All the controls, including this control, have the authority to move a change request. So when scope control was processing the data, it may have considered a change request, a fresh change request based on its analysis. So it can move a change request. Control schedule can move a change request. Any control can move a change request. But monitor and control project work is father of them all. So what it does is it looks at the consolidated data in a holistic manner and recognizes if some change request was necessary and was not moved by any other control. So it is supposed to move that change request. So from where are the change requests coming? They are coming from execution. Within monitoring and control, they are coming from each control, and they are also being generated in a holistic manner from the monitor and control project work. All these change requests are to be processed now. They will go to the next process of monitoring and integration in monitoring and control, and that is called perform integrated change control. This is the process which receives all the change requests, no matter from where they are coming. They're coming from execution, they're coming from any control, they're coming from monitor and control project work. So they are all coming to integrated change control. In addition to this, monitor and control project work also, it has prepared a work performance report. It also gives a copy of work performance report to perform integrated change control. So two things are sent from monitor and control project work to perform integrated change control. One is the change request and the other is the work performance report. And the same work performance report which is created here in monitor and control project work is sent back to execution also. What is the purpose of sending it back to execution? What will we do with that work performance report? Anyone who can help me? Yes, please.
Not sure about this, sir.
Yeah.
Not really sure about this.
Okay. Do you remember we do not have a HR control here? You yourself, Mohsin told me just now that the only knowledge area which doesn't have a control in monitoring and control process group is HR. Then how HR will manage its resources? This work performance report is required by the HR process in execution, which is called manage human project teams. That process will receive the work performance report. That would not be the people performance report, that would be the work performance report. Naturally, the whole work which has been done by a specific team, this report will speak of that, and then the team can be evaluated on the basis of this work performance report, and team can be treated accordingly by their supervisor or team leader, whomsoever is looking after them. That would be considered as the management of the team. So we don't need a control there. We just need to manage the team. So their reports would be written. The individual's reports or the team report will be written by their supervisor or whomsoever is concerned in execution based on work performance report. Now, what is the responsibility of integrated change control? All the change requests have been received here. It will further analyze these change requests and it will process them. It will get them accepted, rejected, or whatever status is being allocated to them. That is done here in integrated change control. So for all practical purposes, although it is not written in the PMBOK, all practical purposes, project board would be offered these change requests and they would actually give the decision which change request has been approved, which has been rejected, which have been pended, which have been suspended or whatever. So whatever treatment to the change request is to be meted, it would be through this process perform integrated change control. And once a change request gets approved, this news is communicated back to execution. The direct and managed project work process gets the approved change request, and once this change request has been approved, the corresponding project management plan and project documents are amended accordingly, as if the people sitting in direct and managed project work in execution, they can now follow the updated latest project management plan from now onwards. So we will ensure that they do not keep following the old project management plan, but after a change request has been approved, the amendments to the project management plan and the project documents have been made, and the people sitting in execution know about them, and they are following the updated and latest version of the project management plan. So this cycle will be repeated until and unless no more change requests are there, and until and unless all the deliverables are not approved. Once it is all done, once all the job has been satisfactorily done, all the deliverables have been accepted by the user, that is the time when we are done with monitoring and control, and we move on to the close project or phase process group. In closed project, naturally, there is one process, in closing process group, there is only one process from integration, that is closed project or phase, and the other process is from which knowledge area? There is another process in closing. It is from which knowledge area?
Procurement, sir.
It is from
Procurement.
procurement. Because the procurements we have, outsourced, we have to close all those contracts, all those deals have to be amicably resolved as if we can declare our project closed. And naturally, to declare my project closed, first thing is all the procurements have been completed, and also all the work of the project and all the deliverables of the project have also been delivered. All the documents are complete. There is nothing outstanding. All the assets have been transferred to the organization. All the lessons learned have been sent to the organizational process asset, and once that is done, the project is declared closed. Now coming back to Rijo's question, he asks, how is this spread across the team? Do you mean the work performance report? Yes, Rijo? Okay. You see, as far as the project is concerned, I have explained earlier, um, we are only concerned about two things in the project. All the work gets done and all the deliverables get delivered. So all the controls in monitoring and control are about either the deliverable or the work. So we have reached the level where we have created a work performance report, and that speaks loud and clear how well our work has been performed, our work package has been performed. Naturally, the person who is managing the team knows who has done that work. So he would, if the work is done well, then he will appreciate the team, he will reward the team. Whatever treatment is to be meted is to be done by the project, the team lead, or whomsoever is supervising, and that thing happens in execution. In the process, manage project teams, and if job is not well done, he will himself apportion the blame, and he will fix those problems. He will, maybe course the project team or the member and fix him, maybe fire someone, maybe bring on board someone else or something like that. This is all human resource effort which is to be done in managed project team. As far as the change requests are concerned, approved change request is sent back to execution, and that is received by the process direct and manage project work. That would ensure, you remember some of the change requests was moved by execution from this process direct and manage project work, and there are certain other processes in execution from other knowledge areas who also have the authority to move the change request. So the change requests they had moved, they would know whether they have been approved or not. They would also know that there are certain change requests which have been moved from monitoring and control after the due analysis of all the work, and those also those change requests which have been approved out of them would affect their project and work which they are going to do subsequently. Therefore, they must know about all the approved change requests. So direct and managed project work will collect all the approved change requests and ensure that project team working on the project in execution, they are working according to the latest version of the project management plan, which has accommodated all the approved change requests. So did I answer your question? Fine. Now, a little about the project integration itself. Naturally, we have talked a lot about project integration already. It includes these 6 processes, and whatever is to be done in integration, that is for the purpose of identification. It identifies, combines, unifies, and coordinates the various processes and project management activities within the project management process groups, all the 5 process groups. Means all the 47 processes are identified by integration. They are combined, unified, and coordinated. Everything has to be the responsibility of integration, no matter whether they belong to some other knowledge area. All the 47 processes fall under the responsibility of integration, and the proper integration of all the processes, the identifying which processes are to be combined, unified, or coordinated, or whatever, is all to be done by integration. So overall, the parent role is being performed by integration. In the project management context, integration has these characteristics like that of unification, consolidation, communication, and integration. So these are the various characteristics of integration process group that are crucial to controlled project execution. If these things are done, you would be better able to execute the project in a disciplined manner until it is completed. Successfully, you will be able to manage the expectations of the stakeholders, and you will be able to meet the project requirements. Meaning what? There will be no confusion if things are properly integrated. Now, to explain integration a bit better, I would say, how many of you have heard about this term in mathematics? Integration. Okay, what does that mean? What is integration in mathematics? You might have heard a related term, differentiation. That is the opposite of integration. Combined, right? Integration is combining and differentiation is okay. Differentiation is breaking things open. You have a consolidated item in front of you. Maybe you have a TV set which has to be repaired. That is one big box. You will have to open it to fix it. So you will remove the cover, you will get into it and get the things out and try to find which is the faulty item. So you are actually getting into the things, you are breaking the thing open and trying to troubleshoot it, and ultimately you will reach the point where the problem is and you will be able to fix it. Once you have fixed the problem, what do? You again integrate the whole TV together. You put everything where it was supposed to be, and ultimately you box it again. That means you have integrated it. The interesting part is there is no differentiation process or any knowledge area by the name of differentiation here, but actually all the work of opening and breaking the things open and then joining them back together, the whole repair process is being carried out by integration. So it unifies the things, join them together, consolidates them, communicates them. All of these are integrative functions. So, but integration is in charge of the whole project. If I compare a project to a problem, so when a problem is posed to you, how do you resolve it? What do you do with that problem? I pose a problem in front of you. What is the mental process you are going through? Yeah, anyone? I think your sound is okay today. You can speak.
I mean, sir, what happened and why happened and how to fix it?
Okay. The first step you have taken is to explore. That is to differentiate. You are breaking the problem open into smaller parts as if you can understand what is within, and then further smaller parts, and ultimately you will hunt down the pain area. That is opening up the problem. And once you have found the problem, you will fix it and then consolidate it as your solution. You see, you have gone through the whole process of differentiation and then integration. Similarly, a project is a problem. It is an uncertainty. You are told to build a house. There is a big problem. What do people want? Who wants it to be built? How to build it? How to plan it? And all that. You will differentiate the whole thing, and that actually comes under the domain of the scope, that you break open the thing, you create the work breakdown structure. But naturally, because integration is parent of them all, scope is subservient to integration. So the whole process of breaking the things open and then designing everything, planning everything, and ultimately putting it all together into a project management plan, this all comes under integration. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, sir.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, let's define each of these processes in very brief words. Project charter. Develop project charter is our first process, and I will keep asking questions in the way, so please bear with me. Develop project charter is the process of developing a document that formally authorizes the existence of a project. So this is the formal authorization given to the project manager to mobilize the resources. So what does it say? Formally authorizes the existence of a project and provides the project manager with the authority to apply organizational resources to project activities. There are two main things happening here. Number one, by writing a project charter, we have recognized, yes, this is our project. Before this moment, you might have been calling it whatever, but it was not a project. It may be a contract, it may be a business case, it may be whatever, but it was not a project. Here it becomes a project. You have recognized it as a project through this document, number one. Number two, you have assigned a project manager and you have given him the authority to do the work of the project. And you have allocated him to apply the resources as if he can done that job. So this is the role of project charter, which is done in initiation. Moving on to the next process group is the planning. In planning, what do we have? We have the project management plan to be developed. So the process name is develop project management plan. The process of defining, preparing, and coordinating all subsidiary plans. And what are those subsidiary plans? Anyone who can help me, what is a subsidiary plan? What is a subsidiary plan? Give me some examples.
So plans for phases?
Not at all. Subsidiary plans. You have got subordinate knowledge areas, 9 knowledge areas. Each knowledge area is supposed to create its own management plan. Those are the subsidiary plans. Scope management plan, requirements management plan, schedule management plan, cost management plan. How many are they? Naturally, there are 9 knowledge areas in addition to this. So there would be at least 9 plans, but actually they are more than 9. You see, in scope, we have not one management plan, we have two management plans. We have scope management plan and the requirements management plan. That makes 10. Then in quality, we have again two management plans. One is called the quality management plan. The other is called the process improvement plan. So this makes 11. So there is a minimum requirement of 11 subsidiary plans to be included in project management plan. And those management plans, when integrated together into a comprehensive project management plan, and the project's integrated baselines and subsidiary plans may be included in the project management plan. So one, we have talked about what are the subsidiary plans. There are 11, minimum 11 subsidiary plans, but there could be more. There could be, a configuration management plan. There could be a change control plan, change management plan. And there could even be in construction, you may have a safety management plan, an environment management plan, a financial management plan. So it also depends upon the industry you are working for. There could be more than that. So whatever management plans are there, in addition to that, we also have to include the 3 baselines. And these baselines are scope, time, and cost. We have got 3 baselines: scope, time, and cost. Wonderful, Riju. So we have got 3 baselines, and these subsidiary plans, if they are put together, this is called the project management plan, and this is the responsibility of develop project management plan. Next, we move on to execution. In execution, the process name is direct and manage project work, and as I explained earlier, the responsibility of this process is to execute whatever is written in project management plan. So project management plan is kind of us operating procedure for it. It cannot defy it. Direct and manage project work has to do what is written in the project management plan. It cannot do anything else. So this is the process of leading and performing the work defined in the project management plan and implementing approved change requests, changes to achieve the project objective. So again, 2 responsibilities. Number 1, to follow the project management plan. Number 2, all the change requests which have been approved, it inducts them and it implements them, and for the purpose of achieving the project objectives. So this is what direct and manage project work does. Then moving on to the next process, then we move on to actually monitoring and control process group, and here we have 2. Number 1 is, which I call the chief analyst. This is monitor and control project work. This is the process of tracking, reviewing, and reporting project progress against the performance objectives defined in project management plan. If you do not get confused, I'll just explain. There are 3 baselines: scope baseline, schedule baseline, and cost baseline, and putting them all together in a project management plan gives us a 4th baseline, which is called the performance baseline. So complying with scope, time, and cost means you are complying with the performance baseline. Just a minute. Yeah. Can you see the screen? It disappeared in front of me. Right. So that is from where you get the performance objectives. Right. So this is not only tracking, reviewing, and reporting the project progress against the project performance objectives defined in the project management plan. What are these objectives? These are scope, time, and cost baseline objectives, which are integratedly called performance objectives. Are we okay with that? Okay. Perform integrated change control is the other process of monitoring and control process group. This process is of reviewing all change requests. All change requests are received by this process. Approving changes is its responsibility. Managing changes to deliverable is its responsibility. Or to any update to the organizational process assets, or to the project document, or to the project management plan, and ultimately communicating their disposition. And where does it communicate it? It communicates it back to the execution. To direct and manage project work, it communicates it back there, and a copy of the approved change request is also sent to quality control, because quality control will look at this approved change request and it will validate and it will start ensuring that the quality control being carried out is also in accordance with the change request approved. So once we have done the integrated change control, we are done with monitoring and control project process group. We move on to the last process group, which is closing process group. And from integration, there is only one process called close project and phase, or phase. Why phase? Because a phase is also treated as a small little project. As we have a charter for project, to start a project, we have a charter to start a phase also. So as we close a project, we also close a phase. So all the 5 process groups happen in every phase. Every phase is initiated, planned, executed, monitored, controlled, and closed. Therefore, closed project or phase means that this applies to the project as well as to the phase. This is the process of finalizing all activities across all of the project management process groups to formally complete the phase or the project. So these are the 5 processes, brief definition of these 5 processes. You see, we are defining these things time and again, and every time we dig a bit deeper than before. And that is exactly the mechanism through which you are going to learn. This is just not the repetition of the things. This is digging a bit deeper every time. And ultimately, once we are done with the knowledge area, you would have in-depth knowledge of that knowledge area completely. And I hope you don't have any doubts lingering after that. But even if you have, there is no problem. We can always, fix those things. I keep receiving a lot many questions from my students or other friends or people from LinkedIn and other places, and you might have observed that I have started uploading some videos in which I answer those questions. So you can always put up your question. I can directly answer you. I can email you. I can write an article for you or record a video response for you. So I'll ensure that you will understand everything we are talking about. Okay. So all the interaction happening for the project is under the responsibility of integration. The need for project integration management is necessary in situations where individual processes interact. And they do. They do interact. All the 47 processes have to interact with each other somewhere. And to control this interaction, we must have an integrated approach. For example, a cost estimate needed for a contingency plan involves integrating the processes of project cost, time, and risk management knowledge areas. So if those knowledge areas are not talking to each other and their processes are not integrating with each other, our process is going to suffer. And who is going to ensure that? And that is integration itself. When additional risks associated with various staffing alternatives are identified, then one or more of these processes may be revisited. If there is a risk, you might have to recalculate the time or cost or whatever. So you see, whenever something happens in a project, there are a lot many things which are to be disturbed by that, and that those interactions have to be very vibrant and lively. We should not be divorced from each other. We must be very properly linked, and proper interactions should have been defined. It is not only the interaction amongst the project management processes, it is also the interaction with the operations. The project has come out of operations. Therefore, there are a lot many inputs you are getting from operations, and ultimately whatever you are going to produce out of this project is going to get settled into operations. It is going to be handed over to the operations and they will make use of it. So the project deliverables may also need integrating with ongoing operations of the performing organization, the requesting organization, and with the long-term strategic planning that takes future problems and opportunities into consideration. Project integration management also includes the activities needed to manage project documents to ensure consistency with project management plan and product service and capability deliverables. So the things which are going out of the project documents would lessons learned and all those things will be established. So those all things should be properly integrated and properly documented. All the project documents we create during the project are going to become the history. That is the historical data which is going to be included in the organizational process assets later. All our project plans will go into that. All the products and our results we produce, they are going to go out of the project. So all these integrations are also to be handled by this knowledge area. Now the next question is the order and rigor. To what level you apply what process? Most experienced project management practitioners know there is no single way of managing a project. And I think you must also be aware of that. No matter what PMBOK says, whatever PMBOK says is good enough. These are just the good practices, but they are not mandatory. If they suit you, you adopt them. Now it is dependent on you or your project team. You decide what processes you will pick to apply in your project out of these project management processes, and to what, in what order you pick them, and to what level of rigor you use them. They apply project management knowledge, skills and required processes in a preferred order and with varying rigor to achieve the desired project performance. This is your decision. This is not any recommendation from the PMBOK or the standard. This is just a suggestion. This is how the things should be done. But this is the best judge are you yourself to define what are you going to do in your project and which is more important for you. However, the determination that a particular process is not required does not mean that it should not be addressed. If you say we don't do any procurements in our project, so should that mean that we should not do any process of procurement, or we should not even consider procurement? Why do you say that we do not do procurements? Because you say we don't give out the contracts. We don't subcontract things. But then the question arises, do you make everything by yourself? If the project is to build a car, do you make everything by yourself? Or you buy tires from some other company and things from, some other things from some other company? If you are doing that, you are still doing some kind of procurement. This is still under some kind of contract. Therefore, you must be mindful of that. So the rigor might go down or up, and it is all your decision which process you pick and which you don't pick. But this is all about, the good practices. These are in front of you. You are the best judge to do that. About phases, the project manager and the project team need to address every process and the project environment to determine the level of implementation for each process within the project. So how intricate your project is, what is the level of detail you want to go in your project, that would define how deeply you want to manage and monitor your project. If a project has more than one phases, the level of rigor applied within each of the project phases should be appropriate for each phase. It is not necessary that you go into the same level of detail in each phase. Maybe one phase deals with something very complex and very intricate, so you go down to maybe your work packages are very small and you are monitoring each and everything, and other phases may not be that intricate. Again, the decision is yours. This determination is also addressed by the project manager and the project team. Then we have integrative activities. Some integrative activities performed by the project management team are, now, as I said earlier, this is the parent, and it takes on the credit for all the accomplishments which will happen in the project. It is the boss. So scope, time, cost, quality, everything is subservient to it. So it takes the credit of getting everything done. That's why this slide presents a summary of the whole project management being integrated. So developing, reviewing, analyzing, understanding the scope. This includes the project and product requirements, criteria, assumptions, constraints, other influences related to project, and how each will be managed and addressed within the project. This is the integration knowledge area will do. Transform the collected project information into a project management plan, consolidating the project management plan, then performing those activities in execution to produce the project deliverable, and ultimately in monitoring and control to measure and monitor the project's progress and take appropriate actions to meet the project requirement. That means change requests and all that. So all of this happening is the personal responsibility of integration, and it will get these things done through the other 9 knowledge areas. So the tasks involved here are at the integration level are project selection methods. Now this is a little tricky. Why are we talking about the project selection method there? Project has already been awarded to us and we are doing a specific project. Why are we talking about the project selection method? Do you remember that there was a role of project sponsor in the beginning who actually wrote the charter and gave you the authorization to mobilize the resources? When the ball was in his court, he was actually able to do some project selection also. Why? A project sponsor does not deal with a single project only. He may be a project sponsor for 4 other projects in addition to this one. So he was given those 5 projects, these 5 projects to get authorized. But the budget allocated to this project sponsor was only enough for starting 2 projects. So he has to do his own feasibility, his own cost benefit analysis, his own, a small little portfolio management in which he decides which project to start and which not to start. This is called the use of project selection methods. And for selecting the projects, he has to use the cost benefit analysis, and in cost benefit analysis we have got a number of methods which we will be discussing at a later stage in cost, because naturally it involves some kind of calculations in cost, although those methods are to be included here, but I actually put them there as if they can be better understood with the perspective of the cost. But anyways, so this is some kind of comparison or selection process which sponsor is involved in. But once sponsor writes the charter and authorizes you to mobilize your resources, that means he has selected your project. He has selected this project and this has been authorized, he has recognized this project, and ultimately now you are supposed to be moving ahead with your planning. So the next step is to defining the scope. Next is document the project risks. This all is happening in the beginning, in the start. Project sponsor has come up with a scope which is to be written in the charter. He has also come up with some very high level risks, assumptions and constraints. And only then he was able to prepare the project charter. Then he obtained the project charter approval from whom? Who approves the project charter? This is the senior management or the project board. Although project sponsor is part of the project board, but the senior management will approve it, and sometimes no, it is not PMO. It is not PMO. PMO does not approve it. That is one of the, another possibility, that if PMO has been delegated this authority, but I will strongly not recommend that. I would say project board is a better body for approving the project charter. So senior management approves the project charter, and if they authorize or if they delegate this authority of to the project sponsor, then project manager sponsor will sign it. And ultimately, the job which is done in initiation next is identify and perform the stakeholder analysis. Although this is stakeholder and under the area knowledge area of stakeholder, but overall responsibility integration is accepting the overall responsibility of identifying and performing the stakeholder analysis. Okay, now let's see how projects come about. Project initiation is the formal recognition that a project or the next phase is in an existing project should begin and resources should be committed to the project. So that essentially means that a project or phase has to have a charter. A project has a charter, a phase also has a charter. Then we have to formally recognize that this is a project and this is a phase. So with the start of every project and phase, we will have to recognize it through a charter, and then we should allow it to mobilize the resources and to start working and be committed to the work of the project. The business might drive the need for a project, customer might demand changes to the product, or legal requirements might create the need for a new project, but the formal initiation is through the charter, whether it is a project or phase. What are the various needs and demands or expectations, and from where are they coming? Basically, all the projects are created due to some business need, and that business need has been created due to either the market demand, strategic opportunity, or the business need, customer request, technological advancement, legal requirements, ecological impacts, social needs, or many other reasons. Why are we doing this project? Why this project was even conceived? This could be one of these reasons. Maybe market demands us to create something new, and therefore we have decided to do this project. Maybe there is a great strategic opportunity, or we have a business need. Maybe it is the request of the customer, and they want this project to be done that way. Maybe the things have advanced technologically, and we have to upgrade. Maybe it is a legal requirement. By the government, it is regulated that we have to use a specific mechanism while doing something. So we may have to induct that process into our organization. Maybe the weather situation and ecological conditions have changed, and therefore I have to bring some change in my organization. Maybe there is some social need. So these are some of the aspects. These are 7 needs and demands which are referred here, but there could be more. Feasibility studies. Basically, feasibility study is not essentially a part of initiation or integration. But why I'm saying that? Because feasibilities may have happened even before the project has started. They could have been conducted by organization as a part of operations, as a part of their investment, and they may have not found many things feasible, and therefore those projects never came into being. But still, as I said, project manager has to do the project selection. So he has to use those skills and do some kind of feasibility study. Moreover, it is not really sure that project is started after the contract has been awarded to us. Maybe when the idea of the project was conceived, we had started the project from that point on, we have given the charter from that point on, and therefore the feasibility of the project falls part of the project. Therefore again, the feasibility study is full-fledged a part of the project. So feasibility studies are undertaken for several reasons: to determine whether the project is viable, to determine the probability the project will be succeeding, to examine the viability of the product service as a result of the project, to look at the technical issues related to the project and determine whether the technology proposed is feasible, reliable, and easily assimilated into the organization's existing technology structure. So you have to look at it from all aspects. And if you ask me, I would divide feasibility of a project into three parts: strategic feasibility, technical feasibility, and financial feasibility, in the same order of priority. The biggest priority goes to the strategic feasibility, because strategic decisions overrule any technical consideration or any financial consideration. They may overrule it. Maybe we are doing a project which is not beneficial for us, which is not making any money for us, which is not technically sound, but we have committed to do it, we have promised to do it, and no matter what loss we bear, we have to do it to maintain the repo of our organization. So strategic feasibility is at the top. Then in priority, technical feasibility is second number, and technical feasibility sometimes supersedes the financial feasibility. And ultimately, you see, everything boils down to the financial feasibility. The strategic and technical feasibilities are done, but the limitations may or may not have. You may not have a strategic limitation. You may not have a technical limitation. If you do not have any technical or strategic limitation, then everything boils down to the financial. So financial feasibility would decide whether the project is to be done or not. But if there is a technical priority, we may supersede financial. If there is a strategical priority, we may supersede the technical and financial feasibility. So that was the point I wanted to make here. Feasibility studies might be conducted as separate projects. Just I defined that this could be a part of the organization through their business analysts. They're doing it, as a part of the operation, or they are doing it as a separate project, or they're doing it as a sub project, or they're doing it as a phase to this project. So whatever and howsoever you want to do it, you must really be very clear. You should not change your mind while you are doing the project that, oh, feasibility was not part of my project, now I should make it part of my project. No, you should first decide from where your project should start. Should it start before the feasibility? Should it start after the feasibility? Should feasibility be part of my project as a sub-project or as a phase or as a separate project? Whatever you decide, you can do that. Because creating a feasibility study is in itself a project. When you don't know the outcome of the study, it is best to treat it as a separate project. I hope you understand the point. If you think that after doing this feasibility, there is a high likelihood that this will not be found feasible, then it is not wise to start it as a big project. Feasibility being first phase or a sub project, and then moving on to the next phase. There is no next phase if the feasibility doesn't pass. Therefore, if feasibility is so doubtful, you do it as a separate project and don't make it part of the larger project. The group of people conducting the feasibility study should not be the same people who will work the project. You see, this is a point I keep trying to make on people, but people don't understand this point. They think the people who have done the feasibility study, they are the best people to do the project. So they try to put these people in the project. What happens is, project team members might have built-in biases towards the project and will tend to influence the feasibility outcome towards those biases. If these are the people who have to do the project, so they will think it from their comfort point of view, and they would say that it is not feasible because this is a very difficult job. Because I have to do it and I don't want to do difficult job, therefore it is not feasible. They will try to prove it not feasible. So let the feasibility be done by some other experts, and actual people who are going to be working on that product would be a different team. Selecting and prioritizing criteria for selection methods would be Sometimes purely financial, as I said before, maybe it is purely financial that you say whichever solution is cheapest, I should go for that. Maybe it is based on marketing. Sometimes they'll be based on public perception, something on political perception. In most cases, the decision is based on the combination of all these or even more factors. Most organizations have a formal or at least semi-formal process for selecting and prioritizing the projects. In many organizations, a steering committee is responsible for project review, selection, and prioritization. Now, let me get back to the first point. There has to be some mechanism through which you do this process, selection, prioritization of projects. This could be a formal method. It is good it is a formal method, or if it is not, then at least a semi-formal method, because you don't go ad hoc in these kind of decisions. In many organizations, they have a pure proper mechanism. Many mature organizations would have a steering committee which is responsible for reviewing the projects, selecting them and prioritizing them. This is, kind of a portfolio management thing going on. Somebody is responsible sitting there and deciding the fate of each and every project, which is better, which is good for the organization, which is not good for the organization. So this steering committee is a group of folks comprising senior managers and sometimes the mid-level managers who represent each of the functional areas in the organization. How does this process work? The steering committee requests the project ideas from the business staff prior to the beginning of the fiscal year. So whatever we are discussing here is from the organizational perspective. This is not exactly from the project manager's perspective. What is steering committee doing? Maybe what they are doing is the portfolio management is linked with the portfolio management. So the steering committee asks for new ideas. These ideas are submitted in writing. The meeting is called a review of the projects meeting. The remaining projects are prioritized according to their importance and benefit to the organization. Projects are documented on an official project list. Progress is reported on the active projects at the regular monthly steering committee meeting. And there you decide which projects are performing well, which are not performing well, which have to be closed down, which new projects could be introduced. So necessarily we are talking more like a portfolio. Project ideas are submitted in writing and contain what? High-level overview of the project goals, description of the deliverables, business justification, desired implementation date, what the organization stands to gain from implementing the project, and a list of functional business areas affected by the project, and a cost-benefit analysis, as I said earlier. So, although all what we are studying here is more towards the selection and prioritization of the project, and we will not be addressing these issues later on when the charter has been issued. But before charter, this is a good knowledge which you should have, because this is a senior level activity, and the sponsor and the senior management is involved in doing all this. Priorities can and do change throughout the year. So the priority of projects you have put them in would be changing. So you will maintain that. New projects come up that weren't originally submitted during the call of project, and they must be added to the list. Reprioritization begins anew, and resource alignments and assignments are shuffled. Organizations usually have a process to recognize and screen project requests, accept or reject those requests based on some selection criteria, and prioritize the project based on some criteria. These are things which you could...
Excuse me, sir.
Gigi.
Sir, your voice is breaking a lot.
What is?
And I think the slide is... Sir, your voice is breaking a lot, and I think the slide is stuck as well.
Okay, let me fix that. You are on what slide?
It still says selecting and prioritizing.
Okay,
Steering committee.
let me fix that. I think there are a lot many problems at my end probably. Okay. Do tell me when you see the slide. Can you see it?
Not yet, sir.
Not yet.
Okay, sir. Now it's visible.
Okay, fine. Right. These are a number of slides on the selection and prioritization. Although they are good knowledge, but I would like to skip them because they are just talking about the selection and prioritization process, which is not really going to be required in project management subsequently. But naturally, this is a good knowledge, and you should go through it. So I will just move on to the next slide.
Sir, voice is still breaking.
Voice is breaking. So I will just move on. Should I try to reconnect? Okay, am I audible now?
Sir, it's breaking.
It's breaking. Okay. I think if the situation is so bad, we can discontinue here.
Maybe it's been a while since it's.
Okay, I think because the net is not good and connection is not good, so probably we should call it a day now, and we can start from here tomorrow. Is it fine with you? Okay. If you have any questions, because voice is not working very well, you can email me. I have so far not received any emails from you as far as the queries and questions are concerned. So I would strongly suggest that whatever questions you have, you must send them to me, as if I can respond to you in the subsequent lecture. So if that is that's all about it, then we call it a day. Thank you very much and see you tomorrow. Take care.
Thank you, sir. Good night.